am LaToya Benton. Xavier Hill was my son. He was murdered by mutate police on January the 9th, 2021.
Jamal Byrd, he was murdered by DC Metropolitan Borough Police in their custody. He died in their custody, and they claim that they don't know what happened. They had no business arresting him.
This is Life After the Impact, a podcast for impacted families by impacted families that focuses on what happens after the media, the lawyers, and the activists are gone. Impacted families are left to face the loss of a loved one to police-sponsored violence. We will focus on their continued fight for justice and how you can get involved.
Be the one that just walks away. Watch your police take another life today. Leaving loved ones torn that left to say. Candles burning. All we do is pray. Yeah.
When I hear Oakland, I'm thinking about the Black Panther Party for self-defense. So, there's a tremendously long history of people organizing in this community and movement building in this community. There was a groundwork laid that created space for that kind of organizing to happen. There's probably tons of leaders that were in position to organize the community. When I look at what happened in Ferguson, and even now when you look at what happened in Louisville, when we went on the ground, the same thing happens. Tons of money dropped into a particular community. And initially what that causes, a tremendous amount of infighting. And while that infighting is happening, you know what happens? There's a bunch of organizers in Louisville who were murdered. And people, I don't know how this happened. If you look at what happened with the Panthers and in Oakland and across the movement, there was COINTELPRO. The government infiltrated the movement and created divisiveness in the movement. And some of that was through money. Some of that was through organizations. Some of that was through agent provocateurs. They have a very sophisticated approach to dismantle us. Anytime there's a moment that happens where we do get visibility and we're able to create attention, it's a moment where we can transform the system. It's the moment when we can actually, I always say it all the time, you have to build a system to confront the system. There's no way around it.
Good evening. My name is Roxane Johnson. My son's name is Jamal Byrd. I'm here with my co-host this evening.
Good evening, you guys.
How are you?
I'm all right. Good evening. My name is LaToya Benton. I am the mother of Xavier Hill. Xavier was killed at age 18 by Virginia State Police, January 9th, 2021. Tonight, we are joined by Mr. Jimmy Atchison. Jimmy, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, please? I'm sorry, Jimmy Hill. Sorry. Do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, please? I'm sorry.
Yes, hey, hello. How everybody doing? Thank y'all for having me here today. And I'm Jimmy Hill, the father of Jimmy Atchison. My son, Jimmy Atchison, was unarmed and surrendered, yet he was shot and killed January the 22nd, 2019. By former Atlanta police officer Son Kent on the assumption of a bogus armed robbery one in which the witness came forward and stated that there was no armed robbery.
So thank you for being a part of our podcast this evening, Mr. Jimmy. Tell us a little bit more about what happened with your son, and we're so sorry for your loss. Tell our audience what happened on that day with your son.
On the day he was murdered, I was at home and I got a call from his mother, Cynthia Atchison, who's now deceased. And she was telling me, Jimmy, because we called my son LJ, and police got LJ surrounded. And we didn't know what for, because a couple of weeks before they had came to her mother's home, and they put them outside 6 o'clock in the morning, bare feet. That same officer Son Kent that murdered him with a warrant, but they said the warrant was they didn't say it was a felony warrant. They just said it was just a warrant for something like missing court or something. And but they were lying all the while. And they woke everybody up, they searched for him. And then on the day he was killed, January the 22nd, 2019, I got the call and she told me, they got air that she ran out. Can I talk to him? And she said, no, they won't let nobody inside the apartment complex. And she said, so I called her. I said, well, I'm gonna go and get over there. And she said, she called me back a minute later. She said they shot her. And I said, well, at least he's not dead. And then she said, she just broke down. He died. He dead.
Mm. So in which jurisdiction did this happen, Mr. Jimmy? Did your son,
What happened?
which jurisdiction did this happen? Where did your son's life get taken?
It was taken over. It was over in Allen Temple apartment over in Atlanta.
Mm.
At the time.
You said this is in 2019?
Yeah, 2019, January the 22nd. It was 8 days before the Super Bowl that was here in Atlanta.
So we're in 2023. What happened with the officers after the court, after any charge? What happened?
Well, from the beginning, Atlanta Mayor Keisha Bottoms, she allowed the officer to resign instead of being fired after much pressure from the public. Even though she knew what had happened, even though she knew the truth, she allowed him to resign, still collect his pension, and later he was allowed to do what it was, surveillance work for the federal government. They allowed him to go, that's how they do when
they hired somewhere else.
They moved to another spot. And so in December 22nd, December 16, 2022, a Fulton County grand jury saw fit, a taxpaying citizen saw fit to indict this officer, Son Kim, who murdered my son, and they indicted him on charges of felony murder, aggravated assault, violation of oath. And in the process of being indicted, days later, his attorney filed a motion to have his case moved to a federal court where they expect more favorable and lenient treatment through qualified immunity.
Mm-hmm. So since the indictment's been handed down, and now Mr. Son Kim is charged with federal murder, where's the case at this point?
Well, we waiting on this here. We went to court about a month ago, and it's to decide whether we're going to be moved to a federal court or whether we're going to remain in state court. And that's what we're in the process. And so it put a delay in it. It gave them another 4 weeks to get the briefing together because a file was missing once again by the federal government. And so he told me, he just quoted they got to get the file.
You wanted to say in federal court, is that right?
Yeah, they wanted to move the case to a federal court. That's who made the decision, making the decision, a federal judge.
So you wanted to stay in state court as of right now?
I prepared to stay in state court because, moving it, he was an Atlanta police officer. He was assigned to a federal task force, but he was executing a state warrant. That did not make him a federal officer, enforcing federal law at the time he murdered my son. And it'll be an insult. It'll be a complete disrespect, a complete insult to the citizens of Fulton County to have this case, and an insult to my family to have this case moved to a federal court.
It sounds like Nikki Owens' case. Nikki Owens, her case is in the same kind of predicament. She's over here in Maryland. It's the same thing. They're trying to move the case to different jurisdictions to give them more leniency as well. Mr. Jimmy, tell me this, as far as the community is concerned, being that you're still waiting right now to get a court date, what is the best way the community can help out as far as applying any kind of action with your case?
Well, by supporting us, you can support us through social media. You can support us. We put out so many call to action, and we were trying to get an idea of when the court date was. You could come support us at the just like I told you, I will send the information to you, and I send it as soon as I find out. I think it'll be 4 or 5 days ahead, and I send the information to you, and ask you to process, had you to spread it out for them, because we need our support. We can. The more people in the courtroom, the better. The more support we get, the better. Because if that's not just in my case, that's in any case. If it affects one, it should affect us all. And these murders should affect us all. The murder of Sean Ken, the way he murdered my son, who should still be alive today, unjustified and unnecessary. And it should affect us all.
Yeah, yes, yes. And this is
He was
a,
a 26-year veteran. He was a 26-year veteran, always have been known to disobey orders and be overly aggressive. 26-year veteran. What excuse do we have?
and how old was your son?
My
Beautiful.
son, he was 21 years old and he leaves behind 2 children.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful young brother right there. Beautiful.
Yeah, 21 years old.
Yeah.
Now, and Jimmy, this is his mom in the picture right here, right?
Yeah, that's Cynthia Atchison, that's his mom.
Now, I think it's important for everybody to know as well, Cynthia is no longer with us. Jimmy, what year did she pass?
She passed away May 19th. May the night we laid her to rest, May 19th of 2022. She died from a broken heart after suffering.
Uh-oh, you went on mute. You went on mute. Yeah. You're on mute.
Jimmy, we can't hear you.
We can't hear you, brother. We can't hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, well, when we did live interviews, she'll get up and just break down crying and say she just couldn't take it no more. You know, that was a heart, that was a piece. That was a piece that was stolen, that was taken away from her. All in the blink of an eye, all because of the color of his skin.
Yeah,
And one thing I want to add, when you see the way he lied, and my son was surrounded by 4 officers with weapons drawn, not tasers now. And Sean Kim was given 2 conflicting commands. And Sean Kim was the only officer that shot him one time below the eye, blowing out his brain, and said he thought my son's finger was a gun. Didn't no other officer see no need to shoot. Didn't no other officer pull the trigger.
But him.
But Sean Kim, the same one who lied, said that my son had a history of fighting with police officers. And when the public integrity unit of the Fulton County District Attorney Office, which investigated this case, my son had 1 misdemeanor.
Right.
But
Yeah,
Sean Kim said he had a history, 1 misdemeanor.
But even still, if he had a history or not, that it doesn't even matter, you know, like, because at the end of the day, it's the action of the officers, you know. And we have to stop getting the matter of I guess stop in the routine of even defending that stuff, you know.
we have to defend that.
Yeah, we ain't gotta defend that. I don't care if he had 10
defend that
misdemeanors.
ball,
Like,
because when that officer interacted with your son, he didn't know nothing about him. All he knew was he was a Black man.
That's right.
He used aggression because he was a Black man.
right.
Whether he was a AF or a student or ace athlete,
Oh, that,
or
straight
had a whole rack of charges. It does not
That's
matter,
right.
because you didn't know all of that when you encountered that brother.
That's right.
You did that because you used aggression because
That's
of
right.
how he looked. Period.
That's
In
right.
the story. And so when
And
we
that's
have
what it
to
was.
stop, yeah, and that's why we have to stop. We have to
That
stop
culture conditioning again. That's
that part.
that culture condition. That's what it is right there. Period. Because we get to the mindset of saying he was a good boy.
Yeah,
He was this. He was that. He was bad. It don't matter. It's about how the officer encounter with our kids. Period. That's what the issue is.
no matter what. He didn't deserve
Right.
it. He didn't deserve it.
And they know he didn't do it because the Atlanta police failed to properly investigate the warrant. After the girl who came forward and stated that there was no going on armed robbery, the Atlanta police force had did a follow-up. But because they laziness and their carelessness and their sloppiness, this also played a part in my son's death, because they wouldn't do the follow-up. They didn't go back and do the follow-up. Proper procedure wasn't done in this case.
Well, we have learned from listening to a lot of these other stories, Jimmy, is that they create the chaos. And they create the situation, the crisis situation, and then they go about the business of trying to cover up the crisis that they created. And what we're going to expose these stories so that we can say, nah, we tired, no more. And the other thing that we know, that a lot of injustice happens in what? Empty courtrooms.
Bruce.
That's right. You're right. It's important to have support. You know, My son was surrounded by 4 officers, and all their statements are inconsistent. One of them said he raised his right hand in the form of a gun. Another one said he raised both hands together in the form of a gun, and another said he just raised his right hand. So anybody know, Jamal Robinson got shot 76 times. If my son, how police law enforcement protect, my son would have been felt with any kind of threat. And when them officers felt he was any kind of threat, all of them was in the same position, the same feet, a couple of feet away from it. My son would have had so many bullets, and he would have been unrecognizable. He would have been unrecognizable, and that just what happened. That's why I fight so hard. That's my son, and he was murdered unnecessarily unjustifiable, and I love him, and I miss him, and people don't understand what this had done to the family. My son had 6 sisters on his mother's side, 3 of them mine, and he had 5 sisters on my side and 1 brother, and this had done a tremendous amount of damage. Damage that's done a tremendous amount of damage to my family. And we not only just lost his mother, we laid his grandmother to rest 2 years ago, and his uncle. Within the last 2 years, we lost his grandmother who loved him to death. He lost his uncle, and we lost his mother. That was a very close-knit family.
I think people got to realize too, as you say again, people don't understand what it has done directly to your family, right? That's the point of having a podcast. So that's why it's titled Life After the Impact, to discuss the impact that it has on people, just not just with the police department, with their families as well. I myself, lost my son, Roxane lost her son, and we're all in different states or whatever, right? The impact that it has on families across the board, people don't get to discuss those things, right? And I think it's a matter of how do you begin to move forward once what you're saying that's out here is more so it's community support. You don't know what's going to happen with the child this year or the case this year or not, and you guys need community support out there in Atlanta. Is that right?
Yeah. And then, and people got to understand this system designed to not hear the cries of the family. This system is designed to wear and tear us down. This system is designed to beat us up and make us give up. And a lot of families have gave up. I know y'all know a lot of families that just gave up. And so what we just have to keep going forward. We have to just keep leaning on one another. My trust is in God, and I try to let Him direct me, and those who are strong got to bear with the infirmities of those who are weak, and that's how we continue to lift each other up. Because at one time or another in this fight, we all gonna get weak, and we have to lean on one another. We have to look instead of unnecessary foolishness. We have to look and just see who crying out for help. We have to beat up for one another and keep building one another up, and that's the only way we're gonna get. And we can't stop getting complacent. When we get one small bit, we get so complacent. We have to keep our foot on the pedal and boots on the ground. We just have to keep pressing. Even through our suffering and struggle, we just got to keep the pressure going some kind of way.
It has to become a sense of normalcy. As in the same way people have gotten conditioned to people killing our kids, and they're like, oh, who they killed this week? Okay, we put a hashtag with the name and whatnot. It can't be like that. It has to be a sense of normalcy. We got to understand that we cannot let this keep happening, right? The same way you give it one time you brush your teeth, give it one time fight for justice. It's the exact same thing. It's wrong. Wrong is wrong. Whether it happens to your child, happen to my child, it can still happen right now to any of us because the laws are still the same. How they got it scripted out right now.
If we don't change the system's gonna continue to remain the same, and we got to change the system. We got to change it.
Yeah, and the bigger part of that is that these things happen and no one's held accountable.
That's right.
And we have to make sure that somebody's held accountable.
Right.
Because that's the only way systems change is when the people are held accountable for their behavior.
That's right.
That is wrong, it's unjust. And we shouldn't have to worry about our children. We shouldn't have to worry about them being safe from the people who supposed to protect them.
That's right. Yeah, and it's always to say it should always be declared a sad day in the law enforcement community. Anytime an officer continue to violate his oath, by police misconduct. When an officer here to protect and serve, not to put fear in us, not to bring forth destruction, not to bring forth death, in which is happening in most situations, a majority of the situation.
Yeah. And that's not a training issue. That's a heart issue.
That's a culture issue.
Yeah.
That's a culture issue. So
How
just
you-
think it's in your heart. It's in your heart. That's all in your heart. I think as with any issue, like I said again, we've heard a lot of these stories over the weeks, whatnot, and I think there has to be a formula to it, right? When it comes to going to court, y'all know it's a whether or not the verdict is in our favor or not, it don't matter. Show up for court. Show up. It could be you. That's the thing. And even if it was not you or not, still show up for court and support. It's not a matter of you're supporting the families. You're supporting what is actually right. That's the thing. So we have to learn to get out of the mindset of, the allies and the families. No. Police brutality can affect any of us.
That's
It can
right.
affect anybody. The title thing separates the whole thing with not. When you got these allies down helping the families, no, you're not. You're helping yourself as well. So you got Mr. Jimmy saying, hey, we got court coming up. Show up for court, you guys. Show up for court.
Yeah, and I appreciate support because a lot of times we can't get too comfortable where we sit back and let others sit and dictate our limitations or either wait on others for change. We got to step up. If we as family got to step up and be the change we are looking for. We can't just sit back and wait on others to do the work for us. We got to get out there and do the work. We got to get out there and be the shot caller. We got to get out there, and once we get out there, other families see us and we can help inspire other families because, when I'm out there with these families, I see people, some of these young ladies, some of these elder women, they barely holding on to their sanity. Some of them barely holding on.
They're fighting for so long. They're fighting for so long. And it's like I said again, it's a matter of you want to hear you as screaming. Imagine screaming into a glass, and it's like, you know what I'm saying? There's a cover over you. And you just screaming, and no one hears you, right? And you're like, I know they see me. I know they see me. I'm screaming, right? Because what's going on that happened to us can happen to anybody. That's the thing. It's like you're on fire right now, Mr. Jimmy. And it's like, what can you do to make the community catch on fire to understand what's going on? What happened with your son?
Well, one thing I do, I get out there, I do a lot of going to, even on dates I don't want to. My sign go with me everywhere I go. I think they put me out of 100 black men and me one time I laughed because I was upset, but I just, I went in there and they seen my sign. I just seen a whole bunch of whispering. I was all the way in the back. And when they seen that Just for Jimmy sign and they seen the police officer, they went about that because down here, they don't, that's everywhere. They don't want to be a part of that. So that was 100 black men in there. So what I do, I go on the corner. If I had to go to the corner up the street, if I had to go to the train station, if I had to go to the mayor's office,
the flyers,
the Capitol, I have to I just let them know, this is my son. I love him. Yeah, my son was murdered unnecessary, and to forget the dead will be like being a kin to him. That'll be a kin to him. That'll be like killing him a second time. And we got to be the voice. And I have to be the voice for my son. I'm gonna continue to be the voice for my son, even until my last breath. That's my son. I love him. It's the right thing to do. And I pray for support. I pray for strength. I pray God to guide me. And I just know I just have to keep going. I have to have the courage. God said he'll never leave nor forsake me. And I trust him. And I trust him not to leave nor forsake me. And I'm gonna keep fighting. And that's why I tell the community, I try to wake up the community. I try to, me and you were talking earlier, and it hurt so bad when I'm out there passing out flyers and I seen this young lady and I see these men walk by me and they have 3 or 4 children. I was like, can I get a flyer about my son? He was murdered by police. And they might say, no, I'm good. How you good? Do you understand? I'm not just fighting for my son. I'm fighting for your son too.
Yeah.
I'm fighting for the safety of your children because not in a million years did neither one of us think that this will end up on our doorstep. And that's what they ain't seen to understand.
Yep. And that's the worst feeling. It's the worst feeling when you try to hand a flyer to especially a black family, right? And they have young black boys with them. And all you do, you see your son is black family, and they will turn your flyer away. And then you want to be in tears, man. People understand you gotta stand strong, you know what? Okay, I'm gonna go to my listen, I've been out there before when I told my sister, I'll be ready to what you mean you get my flyer? I'm ready to fight, right? But it's like we have to, I think the community sometimes, like we said before too, we were talking earlier again, a lot of times, a lot of us are not woken up about a situation until it happens to us. And we got to stop at that point in time, especially when it comes to police brutality. That's what it is. A lot of us don't get involved heavily. We might go to protests here and there. Let's just be honest, but we're not in the moment or in a movement like that until we are actually in the moment itself. Then we're like boots to the ground. But we can't keep being like that. We got to be boots on the ground regardless.
And I sometimes be with other families, sometimes be by myself, because sometimes if they bid, I let them know. If they bid, I know I'm gonna go. And I go to Bookhead. Y'all know Book. I go to Bookhead. I go where the stars at. I go where they don't want us at.
Right.
I go up there, and I'm because I'm not ashamed. That's my son, and I give my life for him. And I wish as a Black man, people don't understand. People don't understand. Well, as a Black man, you know, as a man anyway, they say a man ain't supposed to cry. And I don't know who told that damn lie, but that's a lie, because there's gonna be moments in your life that situation that break down the strongest of the stronger. You know, in trouble being my way, I have to cry sometimes. So, I go to these places. I have to continue to go to these places. I have to go to Bughead. I have to go to different places. I go where they don't want me at. Because y'all gonna know this name. Y'all gonna know it in your sleep. Y'all gonna remember this name, the name of Jimmy Atchison.
That's right. That's right. Well, before we leave, what I'm hearing, Brother Jimmy, is that this is not we often say this, and LaToya says this is not a sprint, it's a marathon.
Yeah.
Even when you're running a marathon, sometimes you got to take a break to take a sip of water and get right back in there. It's like a marathon. It's like going 12 rounds with a heavyweight champion. It's like all them things rolled up into one.
That's
but
right.
I happen to believe my faith tells me that that we were created for just these kind of moments. And I just leave that with you, Brother Jimmy, that you were created for this moment in time, and to keep fighting for your son. And please let us know when that court date is. And everybody who's in the Atlanta area need to show up in that courtroom and fill it up to the brim, so that those people will know that, yeah, we are watching y'all. We watching y'all. And we're not gonna let injustice just happen.
Thank you.
Without watching. Yeah.
Thank y'all so much. It means so much. It means so much, especially when you, and like I was telling LaToya, I was like, and I couldn't find out, and I talked to a couple of pastors at times, they were like, Jimmy, that just ain't happening now. And I was like, the Black Pastor Week, support. Here we are, the birthplace of Dr. Martin Luther King, cradle of the civil right, the blackest city in America, and pastors and everybody, all these stars and all the entertainment and state reps, and it just hard to get support. It seems like it's just something about their support voting right, their support everything, but when it comes to police brutality, they bag.
They hide. Everybody hide. They hide when it comes to that.
Yeah, they hide. It's like so many of them sold their soul for a few pieces of silver.
Come on now.
And a lot of them shall be manipulated, controlled by the president power of the white supremacists. So how can you preach about God and give you a spirit of fear, but a power of love and a sound mind, and you still living in fear?
Well.
Hello.
Well.
Say it again.
That's right, though. How can you keep preaching about that? And so you have pastors don't want to preach about it. They don't want to preach about police brutality. You have people trying to sugarcoat it. I go to gun violence events. I know what I'm going to, and they let me speak about both of my sons. But then the thing is, but you don't never hardly see nothing about a police brutality event or police brutality town hall meeting. It's like people afraid to. They
don't want to speak up. They don't want to speak up and say what's right, in fear of the backlash or whatnot. It's kind of again culture conditioning. We're conditioned to think like that, to accept the answer, what they say or whatnot. And then when you go against the grain, it's like, oh my God, you're saying 12, are you crazy? And I'm saying, and I was saying twice. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, yeah.
So it bothers me because here we are, our ancestors sacrificed.
Right.
They bled, they got hung, they got shot, they got raped. Every which kind they sacrificed. Even little Ruby Bridges, when she had to face what she faced. And we don't have them type of leader. What leadership? I think leadership done turned into misleadership. And the thing that we have the real leader. And we got to just show the world, we got to show everybody, no, we fight for our love. We're not in the bag now.
Yeah. Right. And the other thing that we have to remember is the most important, the powerful movements have been from the ground up, not from the top down.
Yeah, you're right.
At the top, they are, they comfortable. They don't want to compromise their comfortability, right? So with us on the ground, we the ones we've been waiting for.
That's right.
And we can't expect them people that
The
sit
stars and stuff.
the stars and stuff, they
They
sit
ain't gonna do that
behind,
for us.
they eating filet mignon and
Right.
they comfortable. So they don't
Right.
they don't want to be discomfortable. So we the ones that gotta do and
The work, yeah.
we gotta do the work. And I believe that that we have the power to
We're
change.
gonna get it. We're gonna get it in.
Mhm.
And you know what you just said? You know, they don't got comfort. Well, it's time to make those that are comfortable uncomfortable.
Okay. I'm
And
with
it's time to make them uncomfortable. That's the bottom line. They don't been comfortable. They don't been relaxed too long. And it
Too
just, you
long.
know what I mean? They too long while we're suffering and struggling.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? While we suffering and struggling, heartache and in pain and trying to fight for some type of accountability and then still manage our everyday life at home. You know, that's something else. So it's just trying to make those that are uncomfortable.
Yeah, I agree with you. Well, it's been really nice speaking with you this evening, and please keep us posted and give us a heads up, and we will post the trial for your son, justice for Jimmy Atchison, and we're gonna keep fighting, not
Right.
one step back, not one
Thank
step
you.
back. Yeah.
And I'm gonna say the names, and I'm gonna keep fighting, and I'm gonna, when they send me some names, I go to post because I know I post them, and I'm gonna post. You say your son, and it was your son, right?
Yes.
Your son, and I'm gonna post, and I post just like I post mine. I love to post, and I post and say the names, and just hope people continue to share it and spread, and that's what we just have to do. Just keep
That's
the pressure.
right, guys. Y'all guys keep sharing the stories as well. You guys said,
That's
be
right.
on the lookout for a flyer update as far as when court is gonna be for Jimmy's case. Not only be on the lookout for the flyer, if you are in the Atlanta area, show up to court. People who are in the Atlanta area as well, tell them to go to court. Even if you can't stay for the whole court, just show up for a little bit.
That's right. Thank you.
So you
I
all-
so appreciate it. You'll be glad. It'll be glad to appreciate it.
Well, Mr. Jimmy, we gotta, again, that's not, versus being appreciated, we gotta begin to condition ourselves to make that the new norm. You know what I'm saying? And that way, when it comes to new norms, I'd appreciate it. It's more, so that's what we're supposed to be doing anyway, you know? All right, you all, so good night. This has been Life After the Impact. Good night, guys.
Okay, love y'all.
Love
Okay.
you. Good night.
Thank you again.
A lot of injustice happens in empty courtrooms.
That's right.
And I don't know about you, most of us have either had loved ones or may have been involved in the injustice system ourselves. Let us start to be the eyes and ears and show up, put our bodies on the line in that way. Make a sacrifice to come, you can be there, because when people see that we are serious about showing up, they can't just shuck and jive, because it's too many people sitting there witnessing the shucking and jive.